don't see when the teeth come out. Put a band-aid on their throat. No one wants to rock the boat, and no one wants to talk about it. You're not supposed to talk about it. Rises and the players come out. Webs of lies spinning from their mouths. Stop looking, listen for a little while. And you don't see a very smile. Pay no attention to the men behind the curtain. Just look away when you see the blood spurting down to a steady drip. I promise to leave you a little bit.
Howdy there, folks. Welcome to the Iron Mountain Hour. It is Wednesday, March the 8th, 2023. My name is Cliff. I am joined by the magic of Skype by Tim from across the holler. How's it going, Tim? Are you in frame? There you are. Oh, I've got to fix your window again. Don't you love when Skype does this to me and it gives us the piece of Tim's forehead? Up until the show started, it was giving me a correct size Tim, and as soon as I started the show and switched it on to the Skype profile, it resized him for me. Thanks a lot. Appreciate that. But there we go. He's all set now. I can see Jackie. Is that Jackie? Who is that behind you? There. What's her name? Audrey. Mm-hmm. Audrey behind you there.
Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Yeah. So we can see you good. My camera, though, is out of focus now. So let's fix that a little bit there.
For all you internet savvy people out there, she's my tulpa. We bone.
She's your tulpa. Did you create her in your mind?
You know what a tulpa is?
Yeah, you just believed in her so strong that she was created out of nothing, right?
I mean, for real, that's how it's supposed to start. It's a thing in your mind that you project into an object, and then eventually, using the power of black magic and self-induced mental illness, you too can have an imaginary friend that is now there and able to interact with you and stuff. And that's the theory on how it works, is you essentially drive yourself crazy to give yourself a friend. I don't know if it'll actually work. I've seen some evidence that people, I don't know if it's just delusion or if they're faking, but there's good enough evidence that there's people out there with those things. They interact on with it like they're multiple personalities or something. So it really might just be an advanced version of that.
Well, I had never heard of Tulpa until Twin Peaks Season 3. And after I watched that, I started seeing videos of, I think it was like teenagers, and they looked like they were pretending to be multiple personalities and saying they had a tulpa or something. And then it
started real heavy on, from my knowledge, I could be wrong. It started real heavy on one of 4chan's forums. I can't remember what the name of it is. Another Reddit one, and I know it was real heavy on Tumblr, but where people would put up posts about, I'll be honest, I don't even know the origin of it. I just know what it is. But it really became really popular via the threads.
Okay.
The threads. It sounds like a fashion, like a really intense fashion podcast.
Kind of does. But you rarely find stuff like that unless it's like furry fashion there. You'll find some of that there.
Furry fashion?
Yeah, you'll find people talking about that on the threads.
I'll find people talk about that on Facebook now. That's pretty open.
Oh, yeah.
I've got a girl talking about this on Facebook. I got 2 or 3 of them. That's kind of, I don't know. I don't really want to talk about like deep internet culture or anything like that, but it really does kind of weird me out on what level, like stuff that I remember was only on the internet, and now it's just like on Facebook and it's just part of mainstream culture, and I'm like, ugh.
Yeah. I guess I don't get into that part of Facebook really. But yeah, sorry about the Sunday night show, guys. We're going to do Tesla weapons and Tesla technology, weather weapons and warfare. And we're really going to have to watch that line. I'm not sure YouTube doesn't have a specific policy on those topics, but they do have misinformation policies. And I noticed that several of the videos that I was going to reference, a lot of them from official sources like Lockheed Martin and stuff like this, had been removed. So we're going to have to do a little more digging for some of the stuff anyway. So we are going to get into that Sunday. It's going to be a good show. If you haven't already, like the video, please share and subscribe. Jump in the chat. Now, somebody did try to call in while I had the Skype active. It never notified me during the show, so I was kind of giving you a little bit of ribbon. Whoever it was, somebody called after the show, and I was like, you have to call during the show. Well, somebody did call during the show, and it did not come through whatsoever. So thank you for trying. I'm sorry I didn't get it. I would have loved to heard what you got to say. So if that was you, jump in the chat and let me know what's up.
Spare Samsung. I'll just bring it next week. If you need something. Spare
Hey,
Galaxy.
what's up, Solar Power? What's up, Dalton?
What's up, fellas? I don't have a chat going yet. I'll have to get one going so I can see what everybody's saying.
Mine's all messed up. It's covering my whole screen here. I'm trying to pull it to the
You
side.
already had to go to see if the audio and stuff was good.
Yeah, I guess it is.
I guess this will be for next week with the weather weapons or whatever. But for anybody who's here and now and they want to look up something cool that you can comment on next week, look up the idea, or not even idea, just the phenomenon of earthquake lights. Those are wild if you've not seen them.
Oh yeah. A lot of people were saying those were, they were showing that earthquake footage with the lightning and stuff and saying, oh, this was HARP or whatever. But no, that's a natural phenomenon that happens during earthquakes. And
if that one, I saw a video probably within the last day or so that reminded me of, but I've seen videos of it before. They're relatively rare, I guess. I don't know. I'm not a meteorologist or an earthquakeologist or whatever that's called. Seismologist, is that right?
I don't know that I would say it's rare or common, but it is a well-known phenomenon.
Well, I'm saying it's not like something that there's tons of videos of, but there's enough of them to prove that it does look like there's some strange lightning action just before earthquakes happen.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I've been seeing that stuff for years, but have you ever seen the sky change before a tornado when it gets like a really, like a sea green? Or some people have reported getting, yeah, it's wild. It's an unsettling feeling, man.
That was the most memorable one. There was one up in Hampton. Well, I guess I'd be pointing that direction. Back in probably, I don't know, 96 maybe, something like that. Maybe earlier than that. But we never saw anything at the church. I was at the church on 19 up here, this First Assembly of God. And we came out after the warning was over, and I remember just the whole sky looked like it was full of the most bubbly clouds I'd ever seen it, but they were all serious. They were as green as this Dr. Nuff bottle. It looked like the Wicked Witch's face.
What's
it was
up,
wild.
Spill? The time I remember in particular, it was probably 15 years ago. There was, I went outside and there was no sound. There was no, any other indication other than the sky. Just the whole sky looked like bright light coming from every which direction, turned like the color of that Dr. Nuff bottle. It was wild. It was like a light, but there was no sound. It was very, very strange and very disorienting. I remember it pretty clearly.
Closest I've ever been to an actual tornado was in, if it was Indiana or Illinois. But the people that the locals acted like it was just nothing. Like it was just the most god-awful looking, monstrous, twister-looking clouds coming out, and they was like, yeah, there's probably the wind was going crazy, and it was just, but these people in this bar that were in, everybody just kind of, oh, you'll know if it's dangerous, we'll let you know.
Yeah.
It's like, well, it seems awful right now, guys.
Yeah, they're used to it, man. Well, they got some, we've been talking about the Scanner Feed network. If you haven't followed Scanner Food, if you're from our area, check it out at Scanner Food on Twitter or Scanner Food on Facebook. But we missed this a couple nights ago. Mendota Road around 11:30 Saturday night was hit by a porta potty. Somebody was dragging it behind a truck on a chain on a rope, met in the curve, swung out and hit her car. The porta potty was found in the middle of the road. They kept going and did not stop. They're in Washington County, Virginia, right across the border from us. About 45 minutes away there. good old Scanner Food coming through with the hard news. And they actually do keep you abreast of a lot of going on in the area with, traffic and weather and whatever comes over the scanner. They put it on there and talk about it, and it can lead to some really good posts.
Yeah, they're very quick on stuff, so I follow it too. I don't have a Twitter. I follow them on the old Boomer Facebook.
Well, they're on Facebook a lot more, so that was just one that I happened to see on Twitter, so I threw it up there. But their Facebook is just Scanner Food. So facebook.com/Scanner Food. They have 165,000 likes and 189,000 followers on Facebook.
Kentucky, Southwest Virginia, and like a pretty good area around here.
Yeah, they follow like a pretty good circle around, about an hour away from us, a 2-hour diameter circle. And then, like I said, there's, probably 500,000 people in the greater Carter County, or the greater Tri-Cities area, in Appalachian Highlands, as they call it. Let's see. So basically, I got a lot of stories here. I'm going to try to run through these. And hey, Anna, what's up? Glad to see you. It's a lot of these things that they're not really connected or anything, but I think you'll see where I'm going with it as we progress. I got a couple more local stories I wanted to show you. So just because I thought this was cool. And so we got Carter County Schools. This is where Tim and I came up in the Carter County Schools. This is from WJHL. They have some competitors in the World Robotics Championships. So Happy Valley Middle and High Schools took the home spots at the VEX State Robotics Championships. So they've got that's pretty cool. Do what?
So what was the competition? It looked like it was like some sort of disc golf.
I think they have all different kinds of stuff for them, and they can have a variety of, just depends on what they want the robot to do, how much code they have written into it, and
I guess they're not doing the old-fashioned Comedy Central battle bots.
No, but that would be cool. That's probably where a lot of these kids learned their stuff. So, but I didn't even know they had a robotics team. Did you?
I did not. That's pretty cool though.
Yeah. So maybe now Carter County can invent and build the Terminators that will destroy humanity. maybe we can be known as the place that robot originated. When these kids go to work for
kids that are going to drive them.
Yeah, that's true. Well, maybe Elon Musk will give one of these kids a job. Maybe he'll win, and they can make the next household robot, because apparently he's already making some of them.
I think DARPA already hired him. No.
Yeah, probably.
I mean,
they'll be after him.
I don't know about that. That's kind of crazy.
They'll be after him. Did you know they had robotics in schools?
What's that now?
Did you know they had robotics in schools in Carter County?
I mean, I didn't, but I can believe it.
Oh yeah, I can believe it. I just had no idea. I have no trouble believing it.
A self-teacher, or because it makes sense that the first thing that you would automate would be maybe like they do in colleges, where they, instead of having, like I had a couple of classes where they would put like 12 people in one room and then 30 people over in Kingsport or something like that, and then one teacher would sit on a camera and do it sort of like that. And they've been doing that for quite a while. But doesn't it seem like the most automated thing in like an actual school system would be like the lunch ladies? I'm not trying to get rid of those nice ladies, but be easier to automate than a teacher. Could you cook a hot dog with a robot quicker than you could teach a kid?
I mean, I'm sure eventually you'll be able to do it. Right now, I'd say it'd be more expensive than a lunch lady, but their point's taken.
YouTube's got plenty of education channels. I mean, I got a good grade in problem stats and design and analysis 1 and 2 using problem stats because of Khan University. Like, problem stats it's like not hard. It's just so aggravating with all the page turning and different numbers and crap like that I just get lost in, especially with this, the dyslexia and stuff, that having someone else explain it to me just differently really helped. So really, I'm already saying that the teaching thing probably already works, because we got a good grade in that class because of YouTube, and that's automated teaching. So they got me already, is what I'm saying.
Well, this popped up on the Scanner Food from the Elizabethton Carter County Public Library today. Let's see if I can pull it up here. they've got a Narcan station outside the library there.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of people were saying, "Oh yeah, great job, Elizabeth," and then other people were saying, well, y'all are being, judgmental, and those are there for people that need them. And I see where everybody's coming from, because you don't want anybody to die, but at the same time, what does that say about your town that you have enough people who are not just doing drugs but about to overdose on them? So I see why people feel the way they feel about both of them.
Yeah, I think
I'm for legalizing drugs, so I mean I'm not going to sit here and I think the idea is intoxication of it should be treated much the way alcohol intoxication and public intoxication is, but
naloxone doesn't fix intoxication; that fixes death. So I mean, it is different.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't have really a problem with that stuff being available. I mean, is the best option to have it just on the street corner? Probably not. I mean, but you got to get it into the hands of people who can actually save somebody with it. Because if you find somebody passed out on the street, you're probably not going to go through their pockets looking to see if they have any Narcan on them.
And do you think some of it? I mean, open question. I mean, do you think some of it is the reason we can't discuss it is because we're so weirded out by the idea that maybe, I mean, just the idea that exists weirds people out on an emotional level, and they can't really discuss it. Discuss it rationally.
Yeah, I think because a lot of it is everybody knows somebody who has been in that situation, and people deal with it in different ways. Some people, will try to help the person all they can until basically that person, self-destructs, and then, then they never, they have a certain opinion about people who are dealing with those problems, and they think everybody dealing with those problems is going to behave the same way, or they have prejudged notions of them, how they may be. And then other people, don't really maybe not have any understanding of it at all. So I think everybody kind of realizes that it could be them or someone they love in that situation. So I think that's one of the reasons that people act the way they do about it and feel so strongly either way. Is you either really got screwed over by somebody who was like that, or you really loved somebody who was like that. And so,
do you think it's just the connection? Because
no, but I think that's part of it.
I mean, you think it's because it's connected to druggies, and that's specifically why?
Well, probably, yeah. I think it's probably just the way of that's probably why it elicits such reactions. Yeah.
It's because they know it's specifically to save someone who's overdosing as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And I would posit, I mean, I'll play devil's advocate just for the sake of it, but I don't really think it's necessary. But like what if it happens to be a high schooler or someone who just graduated from high school, be a college student? Let's make them top notch. Let's make it Jason Witten or somebody that people care about. And he wanted to party one time, and he got a hold of a Lortab that was laced with too much fentanyl. And if that naloxone thing wasn't in front of the library, he would have had no other place to get it because it was too late and Walgreens was closed.
Mm-hmm.
Just coming up with a hypothetical situation of when that would be.
Oh, there's you could come up with a lot. I think there's lots of cases. It'd be.
I don't use them because those things make me itch. So that's never going to be me unless somebody laces my drink or something. But I can imagine somebody just not understanding drugs very well and taking too much.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Those things are way more powerful than people think.
Absolutely.
Could save somebody's grandma because she got confused or something.
Yeah, no, I think there's plenty of good reasons to have it available to people. Honestly, I don't have a better idea right off the hand because I hadn't really thought about it. But I do understand the people who.
If you get prescribed an opioid based drug, the issue with it is when you overdose, it suppresses your breathing and you stop breathing. That's what causes the overdose. And the Narcan, the Naloxone. Anybody who doesn't know, in case you don't know, the drug they stick it in your system, and it causes something to happen to where the drug is immediately released, and you just sober up real quick, and that's the end of it. It's not like it's going to get you high. It's not like Suboxone or something. It's literally a sober you up so you can breathe drug. And I think the only way to maybe fix it would be to make people that buy opioids, maybe they have to buy Narcan too. But I mean, I'm not a pharmacist or a doctor, so I don't know how feasible that is, but it's the only way to do it, to have if you've got this prescription, you also have to have this antidote in case you screw up.
Yeah, I don't know, but there's definitely a lot of cases where it could be beneficial, but I think the main thing everybody knows that's mostly not why it's there. It's there because apparently, I don't know that it's happening in Elizabeth, and maybe it is or not, but maybe
it's happening because people are buying pills laced with fentanyl and they might overdose.
That's what it is. It's for
and
that's why people feel the way they do about it.
Maybe I don't have the heart some people got, because it's like, I don't necessarily like drug addicts on that level or anything like that, but I also don't want somebody dying. You know what I'm saying? If that's how they're going to go out, like, I don't know, that's just kind of a little dark to venture into that territory of move the box full of antidote and let them die. It's a little dark,
Yeah. I think people are more or less commenting on it's a sad state where we need this in our town more than, we don't want that there. I think it's, that people are recognizing that the problem is widespread, and that it's a sad state of affairs that we need to have one of those by the public library. But that's why I said I feel what both sides are saying on it, because you illustrated some important points about it, but those were kind of devil's advocates points. But your overall take of hide the antidote is pretty illustrative of the overall picture.
It's just weird to me, because that's like saying don't pump an alcoholic stomach when they, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just a little bit weird to me. I'm not saying that they don't deserve it, but that's what mercy's all about. And this is like a town that's got like crosses on every mountain around here. You don't think maybe mercy would be Narcan next to the library? I mean, you don't condemn the people because of their sin if we're going to talk the language of the locals, Yep.
Well, let's move on to the next local story. This will be a quick one. But remember Howard Hawk Willis? Howard Hawk Willis?
I don't know.
The guy who murdered those teenagers back in the early 2000s from Georgia. And
I'm glad
it was
remember his name.
2002. Well, he was on trial forever. Their names were Adam and Samantha. I can't remember their last. Christmer, maybe? Adam and Samantha Christmer, yeah. And they were I think they were married, like 19-year-old married couple from Georgia, and he killed him, or allegedly killed him. He was convicted of killing them. They found the bodies in his storage building later. And he was sentenced to death in 2010, but he's gone through 9 different lawyers because, according to the court, he asked for a different lawyer until they couldn't give him one anymore, and then he was representing himself. So he put off the trial as much as he could, it seemed like, and then it was 2010 before he was finally convicted, and he ended up representing himself, and now he's seeking another trial, and he's got a lawyer that says, well, his rights were violated because he had to represent himself, and he could have gotten off, but so that guy, caught with their bodies literally in the storage unit and on death row is he's still going for it, so.
Well, let him keep going for us.
Yeah.
Seems like that's what it is, doesn't it? Kind of like stalling.
Oh, yeah, it seems like that's what he's been doing the whole time. But I guess that's the good thing about, that does show you, I mean, I know people want justice. I'm sure his families want justice, but that shows you really a best case scenario for you as a criminal, having your rights protected, that you have that many chances. If your rights were violated, if you actually fight it, like this guy was, you got a lot of chances to actually, get your rights back or whatever, or prove your rights were violated. So I think where people really mess up is when they give up and plead and just want the whole thing over with, and they, plead down and, oh, well, we'll just give you a misdemeanor. It won't stick with you or anything. You just have to pay a fine and, won't have to do any time, when really you didn't do anything wrong. There's a lot of cases of that, and people are afraid to stand up for their rights. But the Sixth Amendment, which his lawyers say is being violated, it says, in all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed. And let's see, I think it says something about he has, is it in there where he says get counsel? Yeah, to have assistance of counsel for his defense. That's the last line of it. So They offered him 9 lawyers. He didn't want any of them. They said,
That's what I was going to say. If he's going to try to argue the right to a speedy trial and he's the one firing the lawyers, then they're not going to let him off that.
and the right to counsel, they offered him 9 lawyers, and he didn't take any of them. So,
He's dumb as Daryl Brooks.
he seems worse or as bad just based on seeing him on the news over the years. But yeah, that storage unit was in Johnson City. I actually was driving by the storage unit the day they found them. I was working for a company where we were transporting folks from one medical facility to another, or medical facility to a residential facility. And they, as I was driving by there, they were taking stuff out of the storage units and had law enforcement all around it and stuff. And I remember seeing it on the news that night, that's what they had found. Or it wasn't that night, it was actually later than that. But yeah, anyway, that guy's back in the news. But let's get out of the local stuff. I've got today's the anniversary 5 years ago or 6 years ago, and probably a lot of people forgot this, didn't even know about it. But WikiLeaks released news that the CIA was hacking Samsung smart TVs. Now, each smart TV, has a microphone in it, and most of them probably have a camera in it, or some sort of light sensor at the very least. But most have a camera. As cheap as cameras are, they mostly have a camera. But anyway, these microphones were being hacked by the CIA in these TVs in Britain, and it came out in this WikiLeaks document back in 2017. The Vault 7 drop showing a lot of the hacking tools that the CIA had, and how they could basically make a hack look like anybody they wanted to did it. They basically put anybody's fingerprints on it, but also that they were listening to British citizens through their televisions. And yeah, let me catch these spiel to get us a couple chats here. It's all becoming a sad state of affair, and possession is 9/10 of the law. The bodies were in his unit. Yep, that's exactly right. That's who else could have put him in your unit? I mean, how are you going to argue your way out of that? I mean, somebody really have to be after that guy if they were going that far to frame him. I'd hate to deal with the kind of people who would do that to him. Do what?
One way to do it. I said that would be one way to frame somebody, though.
Yeah. But I don't think I don't know if he's ever claimed that or not. Maybe he has. But the reason I was bringing up the hacked smart TVs is because I want to get just a little bit later. But Matt Hancock, he was the UK Minister of Health. Did y'all see anything about this? I've not really seen anything about it in the American news. I just happened to have come across it looking at international news from Twitter. And we've got this story here. This is from Kaneko the Great. This is an independent, content creator on Twitter, but he's got these text messages that were leaked through, I forget what paper they were leaked through, but Matt Hancock, he discusses, talking to his deputies, he's talking about, shall we deploy the new variant? And he's got, now I've lost the picture of it here, but just give me a second. I've got a screenshot of his texts here. Here it is. And this has been verified by the Telegraph. But he says, sounds like Sadiq is lining up being Burnham. And he's talking to Damon Poole, who's his special advisor. And he says, that we're not going to fight him too much with this. We're going to roll and pitch with the new strain. And he says, we frighten the pants off everyone with this new strain, says Hancock. He's the UK Secretary of Health. But the complication with Brexit is taking the top line. He says that's what gets proper behavior change. And then Matt Hancock says, when do we deploy the new variant? And Damon Poole says, been thinking about this, and we need to be more cautious, the strain that is. The point you made earlier, but we need to keep schools off paperwork agenda. And Matt says, yes. Damon says, worth doing a bit about no leaking at the top, I think. Now, this stuff actually got out to the Telegraph in the COVID stuff. while Hancock was secretary, and he resigned, but the press reported that Hancock had resigned over his wife catching him cheating on him through the text messages. But turns out they had these text messages. Spill, somebody gave you a big smart TV and you gave it away. You didn't want it. Yeah, I'm hanging on. I've got a few TVs in the house that aren't smart TVs, and every one that I can find, at least in stores for the last couple of years, is a smart TV. And I really don't care to have one. It's bad enough all the other things they have spying on me that I carry around with me all day. Did you get a new dog?
Yes, he's squirming all over the place. This one.
Well, who is that?
It is a golden doodle.
Yeah, what's his name? Her name?
A golden retriever and poodle mix. We don't know yet. My wife's calling him Oppa because he looks like the big bison thing off of Avatar. And I would say it's a bad name, but he does look like Oppa. But I wanted to name him. I wanted to name him Barcus Aurelius. Stupid, but I know. But he's not really a Barcus Aurelius. He's not stoic. He's pretty wild and crazy. So.
Yeah, well, those golden doodles can be good dogs. I've met some that are really cool, and poodles are so smart, man. And Labradors are so friendly.
He's replacing a Dachshund.
Yeah.
And I miss the Dachshund. Love the dog. Really wish I had him back, but dude, Dachshunds are awful. They just really are. You can't train them.
You've mentioned that.
You can potty train them, and they're still going to pee in the floor sometimes. It's just the way it is. They're louder than hell. They're little stumpy things. They can't get up and down the stairs on their own. It's like something you have to take care of. And it's like, I just want a dog that I don't have to be afraid of it going outside because a coyote will kill it or something. Like, I wanted something that could take care of itself on a level, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's
a Chihuahua around in my purse.
We've got the Jack Russell and Shih Tzu mix that, I worry about letting him out, especially at night, because we have big owls around here. And the day we've got a big eagle that's been flying around, and like my big dogs would be at risk of a full-size bald eagle. There's
I've seen a lot of bald eagles lately.
That little guy by himself would be in trouble.
Yeah, big old birds. I've seen quite a few bald eagles around here. Not that we didn't have big birds without bald eagles, but I have been seeing them.
Yeah, I've seen so many red-tailed hawks lately. I've never seen so many as I have the last 3 years. But I've got some good pictures of some bald eagles up around the lake. That's where I tend to see them, is on the river. The bald eagle's well bigger on the, if a full-size one.
I don't guess I've ever really been on top of either one of them.
Red tails are not always that big. They can get kind of big, but they're never, bald eagles.
That's some big old vultures around here, too.
Yeah, bald eagle's about the size of one of them.
The vulture?
Yeah, and can get bigger. But the hawks are, probably a half to 2/3 the size of a big vulture.
We got these blackbirds around. I guess crows. There's crows around here, bigger than parrots. They're huge.
Yeah, they are. Have you ever seen them gang up on? Have you ever seen a gang up on a hawk?
No,
it's nuts, man. I had seen a video. I'd seen a nature video as some time ago, over a decade ago. And a hawk got after it fought with a bunch of crows, and the crows ganged up on it and ran it off. And I was at work, and we were outside on a smoke break, and we worked out in a site in the middle of the woods, and here comes a hawk, and it was chasing a crow, and the crow was running away screaming. And I said to my coworker, I just saw a video about this the other day. So I bet you that crow's going to come back with about 10 friends. And he didn't come back with 10, but he came back with 6 or 7. And they were chasing that hawk to the point, and they were all dive bombing him. I felt bad for the hawk. Oh yeah, you got California condors where you live, don't you, Spill? She says they got the big birds out there. Those things can carry away a goat. Lots of ducks and geese. Yeah, we get a lot of them too. But let's get back on this real quick, because I wanted to show you, just like the CIA is looking at the London's, they're looking at people in England's televisions. They were 6 years ago. The way they do that is it's illegal for London's intelligence services, or the Great Britain's intelligence service, or the United Kingdom's intelligence services to spy on their own people for their military intelligence services without proper judicial oversight. But the intelligence services can have the Americans spy on their people for them, and then they can trade the information for them. And just like our CIA can't legally operate and spy on people in the United States, GCHQ over in Great Britain can spy on American citizens. It's not against the law for them to spy on us. And then the CIA can get that information when they need it. So that's how they bypass this stuff. And just like they do that, do you think with, this guy, Matt Hancock, do you think he's the only one out there sending texts like this? Or do you think our state and local governments are full of these people that sent texts a lot like this because they're just basically listening to the oversight? And I think there's, these health departments basically help this thing spread out, being part of it and feeling important and stuff like that. And these local hospital systems, I think a lot of them really wanted to help. But I wonder how much of this stuff we would see if we saw a lot of other people's texts. Not that I think we should be spying on them, but I don't think it's just in England. And I guarantee you at the federal level we would see this stuff. But I think people get kind of what's the word where they get jaded, I guess, especially in a spot where they are maybe doing experiments on animals and things like this, and things that would bother a normal person, they get so used to them and they're not bothered by them anymore. And I wonder how many people at the top of these pyramids, like Matt Hancock and others, have just totally lost their perspective of dealing with normal everyday humans. And I wonder how many other people, how far down does that go? Because you see elitism at the local level too. Does Marcus Aurelius have any thoughts?
I think he's dozed off on me, which is good because he was starting to run around and raise hell.
Oh, good. Well, the CIA, the NSA, all these spy agencies and stuff, they're supposed to be, looking on the lookout for stuff like people attacking airlines and, terrorists and these kind of things. FAA. There was a special agent on board, though, of this plane, and a passenger restrained this guy, a Massachusetts man, who attacked the flight crew, allegedly. They said he attacked her with a spoon and stuff. And, that having a person in place, I mean, having an air marshal on the jets and stuff like that, that's probably a pretty good idea. But spying on every single citizen to try to prevent stuff like that, it doesn't work, because one, you have so much data, you can never keep up with all of it. And two, you still got to deal with the fact that you never know where these people are going to pop up. So having somebody on each plane, that seems like a much better idea than spying on everybody's information, every single communication. What's that?
You just arm the stewardesses. Is that the solution?
Well, I mean, one way or another, there needs to be somebody who's capable of subduing him. I don't know if you want to put that kind of pressure on a flight attendant or not, because it's pretty tricky handling a situation like that, and you need pretty good weapons training. And firing a weapon in an airplane is kind of a last resort.
Oh, no, I'm not saying gun. I wouldn't give guns to the stewardess because that would endanger everybody. But why not give tasers to all the stewardesses?
Sure.
It's usually 4 of them on every plane anyway,
Yeah, Delta should be doing that anyway. Yeah.
I mean, have you really thought about maybe? I hope I'm not. Well, yes, I'm going to give people ideas. Surely they've thought of this already. But a plane, unless you have a a twin tower situation, only does damage to the actual plane itself. Why don't you hijack a Greyhound? There's less security. You could do way more damage with it.
Well,
am I just
I
They
don't
just
know.
closed in thinking that an airplane needs to be the perfect weapon. Like the TSA security and stuff now is so strict. I'm surprised somebody was even able to do anything.
Well,
Like,
he didn't really do anything. He just broke a spoon and said they tried to stab a flight attendant with it.
how
But
did he get a
yeah,
spoon?
I guess from the in-flight meal. I'm not sure.
He broke like a spork and made like a shank out of it.
Yeah, like that's what it said. Yeah.
All right, well, I guess it's gonna have to start giving everybody finger foods then.
Yeah. Well, I think there's my point being that there was a lot better ways of getting that it's not really helpful to scan everybody and spy on everybody because it hasn't prevented anything. The people that attempted stuff still got onto the planes, like the underwear bomber and the shoe bomber and all those guys. They didn't stop them from getting on the planes. And if they were stopping people with it, they'd be bragging about it. Meanwhile, there were problems with local sheriff's jurisdictions that were using it to stop, drug dealers and stuff like that. But they were getting them on terrorism warrants.
Like when you first get on a plane, there's probably, I couldn't even give you a number. There's placards all up and down the line the whole time you're waiting through security and through all the different stupid lines that make you wait in. And it'll have like a picture of a gun. This dangerous weapon was compensated on such and such date.
Oh yeah,
like
now
that.
they catch all kinds of guns and stuff at the airport.
Look at that. And I mean, like, I don't know how many, like, what % of that was people who intended to do something, and what I assume the largest % of those would be people who just were kind of dumb.
We're ignorant of the law. Yeah.
I mean, at this point, how could you be ignorant of the law?
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, I guess the only thing you could be is ignorant of the law, but still, like, I can't imagine that all these guns that are getting busted in TSA were actually intended to do damage, or that really would have made news,
Well, no, they most of it's just the people either do what?
You know what I'm saying? If it turned out one of these guns had linked to some guy who had all kinds of like lists and stuff made and was a crazy person. Because if it was that, I think it would make the news,
Yeah. Well, either way, they're talking about dropping new variants to scare the people to get proper behavior change to get you to comply. Point is, they're going to do whatever it takes to get you to comply, whether it's climate change, whether it is a pandemic, whatever it may be, whether it's a war. They're going to use what it takes to get you to comply with their system, and that kind of shows you, in their own words, how they're using it. Right here from Matt Hancock, and that happens over here, just like the spying on the British citizens by the CIA happens over here. We're being spied on by other law enforcement agencies that aren't supposed to be spying on us. I saw this today because the CIA was trending on Twitter, and I wanted to share this with you. This is from this lady had worked on these masks that they say were indetectable in 1993. I mean, they look pretty real to me.
That is the culmination of a lot of work that we did.
Where'd this come from? Get out of here. There we go.
At CIA over a period of, I say 10 years, developing that technology.
Didn't Tom Cruise have
was
one of
a big
those?
challenge.
In Mission Impossible.
Something that finally actually animated and worked.
I have to
Really
go back
flew
now
a
and look at it.
person
Probably didn't look that
closer
good.
than 3-4 feet from you. But we did.
They learned the art.
We actually brought Hollywood back into our labs at one point to look at what we had done. And they were stunned. They're absolutely stunned.
Congratulations.
The fact that we're allowed to show it tells me the CIA have moved on. I don't know what they're doing. I shouldn't know.
I wouldn't have fallen for that mask, man. It looks good, but I wouldn't have fallen for it.
See it all later.
No, they're all
So I'm
shiny.
proud
They look like the
to show
characters out of
people
that
how
one
good
known
we
as
got
Big Brown
to
Beaver
that point.
video. I promise.
Yeah, and the hairs are all evenly spaced in the beard
Jana
and the head.
Mendez retired from the CIA as chief of disguise after more than 25 years with the agency. When she left in 1993, the masks they were making could not be detected in a face-to-face conversation.
That's symmetrical.
Yeah. That's kind of what those look like, is more like video game models for PS5 or something. I mean, they were very detailed, but everything was evenly spaced and just didn't look quite right. Now, I'm not saying you put one of those things on and I'd never seen you before, you wouldn't fool me, but
Now, I'm not saying you couldn't do it, But the difference that I guess my theory here would be, you ever been to like a wax museum?
Yeah.
You ever been to like one of those, what is it, Madame Tussauds, or what I think it's how they call it, like the top notch ones. I went to one of those one time, and I'd been to a wax museum before, and usually a wax museum is just creepy, right? But the ones in Madame Tussauds were amazingly convincing. So, she could do that with just wax. I could see how they could do that with makeup and make people really transform. Because, like, you swear you were looking at, like, Robert Downey Jr. and stuff.
Well,
it's pretty creepy. Their skin pores and stuff, you know.
Here's another thing about that one, is that one was made in 1993. So that's 30-year-old technology. I imagine what they have today is far more... Let's see, let's watch this.
Classified photos show Mendez in disguise while meeting with President Bush in the early 90s. Although she was there to brief the president on the
that was her in disguise. Hang on. There she is in disguise. Full President Bush. There she is taking her mask off. I wonder if he knew that was happening. Oh my. Barb! One of your demonic friends is in here, Barb.
It's Bush, though. I mean, like...
Yeah, he probably wasn't surprised.
In the room knew she was wearing a mask until she
just...
Imagine the advances that have been made in the last 30 years.
Oh, nice. That's one of those cards.
Oh, yeah, you got those, didn't you? We need to play the Illuminati card game.
I got the new edition. The rules and stuff are the same, but the graphics look a little bit different. If you can find one of the ones from, like, I think it's late 80s, early 90s, the graphics are way cooler.
Okay.
It's a little bit more expensive, though.
Well, we still need to play some of that. That'd be fun. That'd be fun to do.
It's just one of those things where all of us are going to have to learn the rules ahead of time because it has rules kind of like Magic the Gathering and stuff, you know? So.
Is it similar? Is it a similar type card game? Where you build like a power pool of some sort, and
it's like it looks like you're like supposed to build on it. It almost looks like a cross or something like that, and dominoes. Almost looks like, you know, like you're putting ends and stuff together, you know.
Okay, I'll look it up. We'll get those rules. We'll need to get golf to learn it too.
Just I forgot I had it because it was so complicated that I was like, that goes in the back burner.
Yeah.
And on the burner it stayed.
Well, we were talking about surveillance, international surveillance, intelligence agency surveillance, and I wanted to talk here about a bit of domestic surveillance. Now, if you've not seen it in the news, a lot of people are calling them Antifa, but it's just a large kind of leftist group that has been down in Atlanta, and the Atlanta down there they're opening a training center. They're building a training center for the police in there. And this thing's like 17 blocks. No, wait a minute. It's more than that. Give me just a second. Let me pull this up. Got it from the Daily Mail here. It's a $90 million facility, and it's going to have fire and police training facilities for, pretty sure it's for the whole Atlanta PD area. And basically they're spending all this money retraining these cops to rebuild them a city that's like a lifelike city in there, where they'll have this empty city, a mock city. And that's one of the big problems that people have about it, because they're building this, and people are saying, well, it's going to, destroy the land. It's going to, displace people. It's going to just bring more cops in here. My thing in here is like, that's a crazy amount of money on it. But the Atlanta mayor is following the will of the voters down there, who, I don't really know anything about her, but she's hearing that they want better police, and people are saying, don't defund the police. We want to still have police, but we want them trained better. So now they're saying, okay, well, we're going to make this huge training facility, and they're like, oh no, we can't train the police. It's like, you can't win with these people. I'm not a big fan. That's the
point, though, because what they're saying, it seems like there's some miscommunication, because what they mean by training the police is they want them to learn discernment and the ability to de-escalate.
Yeah.
Which I know in some instances that's kind of foolish. I've seen a lot of those videos where you should have de-escalated, and the guy literally was pulling a taser and a gun out of the guy's belt and crazy stuff. It's like, you can't de-escalate that. But I mean, that's not what a mayor hears. When they hear we need more training, the first thing she's probably thinking is all the shootings down there.
Well, I think that they the locals are saying we need more police for that, and then they're, the out-of-staters are the ones who are coming down here mostly and complaining about it, and that's what I was wanting to get into. One of these people who was arrested in this, he was a 30-year-old. Got this story here from the New York Post. The rich New Yorker among the protesters arrested in Atlanta Cop City violence. And evidently, he was charged with domestic terrorism. He was a violent agitator. There were about 24 of them. And there was a protest, and there was apparently some Molotov cocktails thrown and fireworks thrown at the cops. And they burned
he could work on them, didn't he?
They burned some construction equipment. Yeah, and this guy's apparently he's the son of a rich Italian plastic furniture manufacturer. So apparently this guy is the guy in plastic furniture for, designer plastic furniture. His father, Ivan Luini, said he helped popularize high-end plastic furniture. And he's still behind bars right now, but they arrested him down there in Atlanta. And it turned out most of the people they arrested were not local. Most of them, and some of them were even international. So that kind of, lends to the credence that there was outside organization by this, by somebody organizing and paying these people to come in and do this.
Are they transplants? Or is it because
I guess they
moved?
Could be.
You know what I mean? Like maybe they moved to Atlanta from New York because a lot of people are doing that. And then he got down there and went, oh, hell no, we're doing some civil rights stuff. And
I guess that could be.
Georgia didn't roll that way, You can get away with a lot in New York if you're protesting and stuff, but I don't really think Atlanta handles Molotovs.
No, it says Luini here went to Atlanta over the weekend to attend a concert and protest the development of the forest.
Okay, so there you go, yeah.
And it said he was raised in the New York City, and it says it's not clear if he still calls the Big Apple home, but it says he went there for over the weekend. And so apparently these, I guess that could be the case with some of them, but they said the majority of them weren't from, or didn't live in Atlanta, that they were from somewhere else.
I think people should leave other people's cities alone. I think that's crooked.
But, like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of having a huge police state, or, I'm not a fan at all of having a huge police state, but I'm not a big fan of having cops in your life any more than you need to. But if an area that I don't live has decided that, that's what they want to do, that they want to have more cops, but they want them well-trained to handle the situation, I'm not going to go down there and stick my nose in their business. But what I wanted to point out on this is, a lot of these people probably think they're, because they got away with it for so long, like you were talking about, Tim, they got away with it under the Trump administration, so they think for sure they're going to get away with it under the Biden administration, and look who's actually cracking down on them. It's the local government that's actually doing it, and the state government is not the feds, but they thought they were just going to get away with it because they got away with it when Trump was in office. I think that has a lot to do with it anyway, but watch this video real quick. This is from, this just one thing I want to show you, domestic surveillance. Probably, I'm sure there's some people in this group that thought they were being watched with drones, but probably a lot of them had no idea that they were being watched. There's cameras everywhere around them. So there's probably, they probably got all their faces. They know who everybody was talking to. So even if they didn't arrest you, they're watching you now. You can see they've got the footage from everywhere. I don't know if they show on this, but they threw Molotov cocktails at some of the construction equipment there because they're trying to stop the place from being built. But one of the things was like the people who were, what's that?
They had drones watching them?
Yeah, the police did. So, all these,
okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like somebody jumped inside of a bus car, a trap car. Announced that you're going to burn a construction site down. And it's like, go ahead, we'll film you doing it,
Yeah.
Sounds like a trap car.
Yep. Yeah, well, they got several of them. I think it said 35 were arrested. But yeah, a lot of these people like thinking they're going to keep playing at domestic terrorists. Like you said, Tim, you called it years ago. They're not going to let them get away with this forever. They're catching you do all this, and they'll take you down when they want to. So all you people out there playing revolutionary.
That's what I'm saying.
You saw what they did to the Trump administration during the Trump administration with infiltrating the right-wing groups. Don't think they won't do it to the left-wing groups too.
Everybody's championing that January 6th thing. We don't care if it's unfair or not. They really just want to stick it to these people, and it's like, well, yeah, but that's the same rule that's going to be applied to you when you try to save the forest, though.
Yep, and you just saw they did.
The trend just continues.
Yep.
You want to hold Republicans unfairly accountable, and therefore we can't save this forest. That literally is how divide and conquer works.
Yep. And you saw the video, I'm sure, where the fella with the horns and stuff that went in there to the Senate floor. The video just came out that he was led the whole way by cops. I don't know if he did anything else. I don't think he did. I think the only thing he did was trespass there, but he was led in by the police, and it showed him opening doors for him, and him saying a prayer thanking God for the police helping him out, and showing him through there. And that guy already pled guilty and stuff to trespassing, I think is what it was. But they had I don't know how that's not a violation of Brady, withholding Brady material, because the prosecution is supposed to get rid of or to show any evidence they have that could exonerate the defense, and that definitely would look good on his case. Oh, let's see. We missed some Spill's chats here. She says, "Oh, cheesy looking mask," and I'm not sure what you said. Yes, about Spill. Oh, California condors. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. All right. Well, that's about all I've got time for tonight. I appreciate you joining with us, but I think you can see where I was going with it. That all these governments are doing it to all of us. When you see these things come out across the pond, when they see these things happen over here, when y'all see it over in Great Britain happen in the United States, don't think it's not happening to you, because they're working off the same playbook. They're working on the smart city, smart home, smart everything with you plugged into it playbook. And it doesn't matter what country they're from, the only color they see is green. Whatever color their flag is, all they see is green. And whatever color power is, because that's really ultimately what it's all about. Because some of these people have more money than God. They have more money than they could ever spend their whole lifetime, but they want to spend that money to acquire something else, power. So it goes all the way down to your local level too. So everybody starts somewhere. So it's important to hold those people in check too, because they hold the most power over your life, the most immediate. Anyway, Tim, you got anything else about it?
Not really. It's getting kind of dark, staring into the abyss. I might have to stop at some point, but until then.
Well, I hear you. Well, at least we got dogs. Man, I took my dog to the vet the other day. He had eaten something that didn't agree with him. I took him to the vet, and he normally weighs like 48 to 50 pounds, and he weighed 63 pounds. The big fat one. He's even fatter now.
Winter weight.
Yep. I got him out and ran him today. So, well, Spill, thank you. Yeah, it is crazy, and let's all stay strong out there. And it's it's not worth talking about if you're not going to talk with somebody else about it. Because, I mean, if all we do is talk, we're just kind of sitting around, doing dirty things to each other, I guess you'd say. But at any rate, let's see what we can do. Let's get together with other like-minded people and at least discuss the stuff and come up with something to make your life less dependent on these systems that want to enslave you and entrap you, because they are coming. But there's ways around it. There's ways to live without it. It might not always be fun, but you can go ahead and and do what you can so you're as less dependent on it as possible. That way, if the time ever comes that you have a hard choice to make about whether you need it or not, then you have an option at least. You're not, at that point, you're not, stuck between a rock and a hard place, I guess, either way you are, but at least you have an option. But, Tim, I thank you for joining me.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, Spill. Thanks, Dalton. Thanks, Solar Power. Thanks, Anna. Good to have y'all with us tonight. Take care. See you Sunday. Talk about Tesla and weather weapons. Solar Power, if you're still out there, I'd really like to have you in the chat on that one. So thanks. See y'all later.